you are writing let's say you are writing very long sentence, very long sentence. This long sentence would perfectly fit in a landscape mode. But when you are turning this to portrait, it's not gonna look very nice, okay? So you need to write one program only to take care of both of these, right? But how to do that, okay? This is a very important subject because whenever we are writing any application for cell phones and also for tablets, we need to take this rather important subject into consideration, that what happens if the user rotates the cell phone and now is in a landscape, what's going to happen, okay? Android automatically doesn't do it for you, magically doesn't do it. You should write a code to help doing this in the right way, okay? Following? Okay. First of all, the point is when you are writing any application, in your onCreate, you need to check whether your cell phone is in portrait mode or in landscape, okay? One if statement would do the job. Simply something like that. It means if we are in portrait mode, then what, okay? The point is, in our program, we need to have two layouts because the layout of portrait is different from the layout of landscape, okay? Totally different. So we need to have two layouts, even for very simple program like Hello World, okay? In introductory for CS311D, I was not enforcing that because it was introductory course. But in the advanced Android, we definitely need to take care of this. It means whenever we are writing any program, we have to think about the fact that what's going to happen if the user rotates the cell phone, okay? Following? So, we need to have two layout XML files. One layout XML file is taking care of portrait, which is normally default, right? Whenever we are writing a program, default is portrait, right? So whatever you have learned in 211D would be totally adequate to make any layout, XML layout, okay? But for landscape, your layout should be a little bit different, okay? Because you are taking advantage of the really large site, you know, very, really big width. Height may be short, but width is pretty large, okay? So you need to rearrange maybe your items to fit into that mode. But now you have two layout XML files, right? One of them should be in the layout folder as before, right? The other one should be in the folder, which we call it layout land, layout dash land, okay? So we are dealing with two folders now. Layout, okay? That normally is a place for putting your layout XML file. And now you have to have another one, and that is layout land. Okay, layout land. Following? Yeah. Depending on what version of Android you are using, or depending on what type of IDE you are using, okay? sometimes layout land is automatically generated, sometimes it's not. So when you are creating a program like Hello World, please look at it. Let's say you are in the studio, okay, Android Studio. The left side here, you could see the tree structure, right? Look at the tree structure of all of these folders and subfolders and stuff like that. If you find layout land, you're okay. If you do not find it, you need to make it. It's just nothing but a folder, right? Create that folder, but it has to have a name, layout land. Okay? Follow me? Now, the layout XML file that is in charge of landscape mode should be here. You need to copy it into this folder. The one that is in charge of portrait should be the same standard place in this location, right? Which you have done it several times before. Okay? Follow? Okay. Now, they should have a different name, definitely. Okay? Understand what I'm talking? They should have a different name. So, here you're going to do it. If you are in portrait, you're going to have set content view, whatever. Okay? And you're going to put what? The XML, actually reference to the XML file that belongs to what? Sure. Portrait, whatever. Okay? Else? Set content view. Another one that is pointing to what? This guy. Clear? Of course, when you are doing this, you have to have your portrait method already made by you. We do not have any method called portrait, okay, that would help you. You need to make it. And I wrote down how to do it last time. Do you remember? Okay. This is the way that we are taking care of landscape versus portrait. Okay? So far, so good? Now, we want to little bit practice with this subject, okay? So we are going to talk about homework number 1. Okay, the very first homework is a very simple warm-up homework assignment. Due is next week, okay? And we want to make very simple application that would display a sentence, okay? For example, you could make up a sentence. Let's say make up a sentence that this is advanced Android programming, right? Okay? Following? Now, when you are, so the job of our program is simply display this message as a text view, okay? Almost at the center of the screen, right? So if we are dealing with landscape, this is, imagine this is our set, right? Almost at the center. And when you are rotating this to portrait, the story is totally different, right? In portrait, maybe this rather long sentence would not fit, okay? Now, there are different tricks that we could do. We could break this down to a couple of lines or 3 lines, okay? Put them as 3 different text views, right? This is one way. The other way is, for example, we use smaller font that would make fit into the portrait, okay? In portrait, we have something like that, right? And we need to fit this item here, okay? Maybe it should be very tiny. This is and whatever, right? That foot fit. If it doesn't work like that, or if it's very tiny, you could break it down into 2 lines, okay? Understand? So this is part of our design. We want to write application and this that will display. This is advanced Android programming, right? Clear? Very nice. Okay. Now the other thing is when we are doing this in landscape, if we see it doesn't show anything because there will be a lot of spaces on the left side and right side, okay, because this is rather not very long, maybe we could make this a little bit larger font, because we have really wide area to take care, right? So maybe we could make this a little bit larger to look nice, okay, in portrait and in landscape. In portrait, you need to make it small, okay? So this is going to be the homework. When you are doing this, when you're going to write one program, okay? Very simple. And this is going to be text view, right? When you are rotated, it's going to take care of both landscape as well as portrait. Now we have a dilemma. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Program is very small and really small. Okay, all you need to do is just make 2 layout XML files. Put one of them in a layout line, the other one in layout, and take care. Okay. Now, the problem is we do not directly work with cell phone when we are developing the application. We are developing everything in the emulator, right? How do you move the emulator, right? You cannot really move the emulator like that, right? So we have to find a way.
There's a button, isn't there?
I'm going to cover it.
Have you?
Would you have to cover it? You could.
No, I saw the button.
Because I'm a little bit tired today. I can sit here if you want. Okay. So the point is, we cannot really rotate the emulator. Let me show you how to do that. Okay. Depending on what platform you are using, okay, if you are using Mac, or if you are using Linux, or if you are using Windows, there are different approaches, okay? Today, in fact, I was playing with several different computers, different operating systems, to see how the emulator is behaving and how to do that, okay? So let me give you the result of my experiences today, or experiment today, okay? I conducted some experiments and I'm going to tell you what the result is, okay? Actually on Linux, in order to switch from portrait to landscape or vice versa, you could simply hit Control F12. Control F12, okay? So I'm writing down here for you. CTRL plus F12. This is for Linux, okay? And I tested on different Linux. I tested on, I want to see if it's working or not. I tested on the scientific Linux, and I tested on a couple of others. I don't remember now. One of them was Oracle Enterprise, okay? And it worked great, with no problem. On Mac OS X, I had to use the function key, FN function key, plus control plus F12. So function key plus CTRL plus F12. So this is on Mac OS X. So some of you have Mac, like for example you have. So this is the way that you run. On Windows, we need to use left control, because Windows have left control and right control. So left control and F11. left control plus F11. Okay. Let me tell you, depending on what version of Windows you are using, okay? Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, something. If it doesn't work on a specific version that you're using, you try left control plus left control and F12, okay? So either that or the other one is going to work. So I would say or F12, the same thing plus F12, okay, on Windows. Okay? So now we know how to do it in our emulator. So we're going to write a program, okay, and test it on emulator. If it works, we could just transfer it to our cell phone. If you don't want to transfer on cell phone, that's fine, okay? One of the things that I highly recommend you after transferring to cell phone is make some experiment. Let's say you have your cell phone like that. Start moving it very slowly and see at what point it turns to be landscape, okay? So this is portrait, 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 and look at the screen, okay? And see what's happening, right? This is the one that we did. We did the other thing today too, it was very nice. We went to a Chinese restaurant for dinner, for lunch. I don't eat lunch or dinner at work, but my co-workers were doing that. I was watching them. So in a Chinese restaurant, there is something circular that, so we put our cell phone with the program that we wrote at the center and started rotating that device, okay? And we are looking at it to see how it changes from portrait to landscape or vice versa. It was very nice. In a low speed, it was definitely taking care of it with no problem. But when we added speed more and more and more, we saw it could not handle it anymore. Because as you remember from our discussion last semester in CS311D, the way that landscape and portrait is handled is by using what? By using, do you remember what was the last subject in CS311? Yes, sensors, exactly. And you remember what sensors is taking care of it. Okay? So because actually we're going to discuss about sensors in more detail in this course. So this is the job of sensors to handle this, right? At some point sensors cannot do the job and get confused, okay? So try to see if it works on your system or not, okay? It's very interesting. Anyway, these are not part of the homework assignment. Homework assignment is already like program to do it. All of these experiments, something is up to you. Don't go to Chinese restaurant and do that and they ask you to leave, okay? Because, maybe they don't like that. You just make this kind of experiments in a restaurant, okay? This is your homework assignment. This pretty small homework assignment. Warm-up homework assignment. Due is next week, okay? If you do not know how to actually format your code, if you have not been my student, be very careful. Okay, as you all of majority of you have been my student, know that when you're writing your code, your braces should match, okay, in the way that I know how to do. Look at this. See the braces? Okay, it's matching. Don't use tab, use spaces. For indentation, 4 spaces will be adequate, because if you're gonna go deeply into if statement and loop and loop and loop and loop, and if you're using tab, soon you're gonna run out of space, right? Because tab is using 8 columns. So we're gonna use 4 spaces. So I have put a file for you in our public directory. The name of the file is how to write source code, okay, or how to format our source code, something like that, which you can read it and see how it looks like, okay? Question? No? So far, you guys have been my student. No. Anybody has any comment, question about homework assignment or landscape versus portrait? Yes?
Should the program handle the change in orientation? Because right now it will start off in the right orientation, but should it handle it when we rotate should it switch from one to the other?
Well, our program, our program is in charge of doing that because we want to write a program that smartly handle portrait versus landscape, right? This is a homework assignment, right? So when you are rotating that, it should show it, right? So the output of your program should be a snapshot of your portrait as well as snapshot of your landscape, okay? So definitely it should show that the landscape, for example, this would be a good output. Landscape is this, portrait is that, right? Yeah? You want to see how? The way that I did for landscape, I used different font than in portrait and different color that would show which one is what, okay? Okay. Tonight, most of our actually discussion would be around very important subject, and that is fragments. Fragments. I advertised about this last time. Okay, I told you about that. Tonight we are talking about fragments, and tonight we spend time on it. The fragments are pretty complicated subject, okay? I cannot really cover the whole story about fragments in one lecture. It means very likely the rest of our discussion will be continued to the next lecture, okay? Because it's very important and it's a little bit complicated. I need to write a lot of codes for you on the board, okay? Let me tell you what is going on, why we need fragments. One of the problems that we have when we are writing application these days is we are writing application, and this program, this app, should work on different platforms, different sizes of, let's say, cell phones, tablets, wristwatch, TV, and stuff like that, okay? When you are writing application for your cell phone, because of the size of the cell phone, your layout is different from the way that you can write application for a larger screen, like tablet. The tablets have more room, right? So you could fit more, for example, actually more widgets, more items, graphical stuff into your screen, right? As a result, it looks much better. But when you switch from tablet to cell phone is smaller, right? So you need to make different arrangements, right? Understand? And this is, if you continue and go, for example, from cell phone to wristwatch, again, you need to do a lot of things, okay? We have two different choices in this case. One choice is we make different activities for each device, okay? First of all, we need to know in what device we are working on. I discussed about it last time. Do you remember that we would find out if you're in a cell phone, or if you're in a tablet, or if you're on a TV, or if you're on a wristwatch, and so forth, right? These days, all of these are involved, okay? One way is you make activities for different devices. Okay? It is working, but very long, and management of this kind of application is really hard, okay? In version 1 and 2 and 3, of Android, we had no choice. We were doing that this way. But later on in the other versions, Google introduced a new technology which is called Fragment. Fragment, okay? Fragment. Fragment allows us to write, to handle this kind of problems, okay? Let me give you an example about how to do that. Let's say this is your device in landscape, and you have, let's say, a list of items, let's say fruits or cars or whatever, okay? Whatever the items are. And when you click on any of these items, description about the item will be here, okay? For example, when you, let's say these are fruits. When you click on the first button that is apple, you're gonna say apple is one of the best fruits in the world, and we have different types of it and stuff like that, okay? So you're gonna explain everything here about apple. So this definitely would work very nicely and fit nicely in landscape, okay? But now, when you are going to portrait, that is not gonna work, okay? In portrait, which is this, right? Or in any device which has a smaller screen, like wristwatch, okay? This is not gonna work, because they wouldn't fit. What you need to do is, in this case, we are using a fragment, okay? A fragment is defined as something like sub-activity. Many books say fragment is nothing but a sub-activity, okay? Or division of the activity, okay? Okay? So what you need to do is you need to divide your activity into two fragments. One is this, one is this, okay? In landscape, you are going to have two fragments. This side, I'm going to show you how to handle it. In portrait, only this guy fits onto your screen, right? It means the listing of the fruits. And there is no room for the rest, okay? So what you need to do is, whenever you click on apple or any of these items, immediately another screen should be created. Follow me? Another screen should be created. It means you click on this, right away, another screen is gonna pop out, which has explanation about what the apple is. Clear? This is requiring us to use intent, right? We need to use an intent. If you remember, intent would connect one activity to another activity, right? Okay? So, in this case, this activity is gonna call this activity, and the subject apple, by using whatever mechanism you like, as a data we pass to this activity, and here we can display the information about that. Okay, when you're selecting apple, you have to pass apple here, and here you're going to check if it's apple in this way. So two separate screens, right? Clear? Okay. In some more complicated examples, in the landscape, you could put 3 or 4 items side by side. But when you go to portrait, You see, they don't fit. So you have to make 3 or 4 different fragments. Okay. Okay. Now, so I said fragments are nothing but some kind of sub-activity, right? So fragments are working under the umbrella of activity. It means fragments by themselves do not have any activity. Fragments are part of the activity. Okay, so be careful. Fragments are part of the activity. It means they are under the control of the activity. If activity dies, all fragments inside the activity are dead too. Okay? When activity comes to life, fragments under that activity will come to life too. Okay? Clear? This is very important to know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to work with fragments tonight. Okay? We have static fragments and we have dynamic fragments. Okay? Static fragments and dynamic fragments. We are talking about the static fragment first, and after that we switch to dynamic. It means everything automatically or dynamically is taken care. Okay? So far so good, guys? Okay? Okay. There is a class, it's called Fragments class. Okay? There's a class is called Fragments. Normally, what we are doing is in our applications, we are extending fragments, okay? In a way that we are extending activity, right? Now we are extending fragments, okay? Okay? So, you are writing a program, and that program should extend fragments. When you are extending fragment, there are several methods that you need to override. These methods are all callbacks. They're all callbacks, like activity that has some callbacks, okay? Fragments have some callbacks too. So, depending on the nature of your application, one or more of these callbacks need to be made by you. You need to override them, okay? Need to be overridden, okay? Because you're extending the fragment class, okay? First of all, I would like to give you the listing of some of the most important callbacks, and we're going to use them in our examples. When the example comes, I'm going to give you more information about them. All of these callbacks are void type, okay? It means they are returning nothing, okay? Public void, and let's talk about it. Fragment has onCreate, same as activity. Okay, so onCreate is pretty much the same. Create. The same as onCreate, okay? Same. Which we're going to talk about it. We have onStart. onStart. We have onResume. We have on pause. We have on stop. We have on destroy view. We have on destroy. They are two different. We have on create view. We have on inflate. What does inflate mean in Android? When you say inflate, what does that mean?
Reading it from the XML and turning it into actual views.
Exactly. Converting XML to actual code, right? Actual Java code. Okay. On activity created. Activity created. On attach. And on deattach. Which we are going to use some of them in our exam. Yes?
Are there any arguments?
Some of them have arguments, some of them don't. I'll just give you the names, okay? And all of them are void. But for example, onCreate doesn't have any argument, but some of them do, okay? When I write the code for you, you're gonna see how I am using it, okay? I just wanted to give you the names, okay? And that's it. And but later on, I'm gonna give you more information about that. Okay, let's continue from the very simple example. I want to start writing a very simple application that is using fragments. Okay. My application has two fragments. I'm going to call them frag1 and frag2. So I'm planning to write an application for you. This application has two fragments, and you're going to see how I am using these two fragments, okay? But sometimes in more complicated apps, we have 7, 8, 9, 10 fragments, okay? But this is just to save time, I'm going to talk about only two fragments, okay? Okay. Fragment 1 has a list view that displays listing of the fruits, as I explained it to you, okay? So fragment 1 has a list view that will display list of some fruits, okay? And when you click on any of those items in the list view, you're gonna use text view or something to display information about that fruit, okay? Okay, so fragment 1 has a list view that displays, some fruits. Fragment 2 has a text view that would display the information about the selected fruit, okay? You need to know that each fragment is using its own separate XML layout, okay? Each fragment is using its own separate layout. So whenever you are making any fragment, you need to make a layout for that one too, XML layout, okay? Okay? As a result, we're going to create two XML layout files. One of them is called frag1.xml, and the other one is called frag2.xml, okay? File name, frag1.xml and frag2.xml. Let's write the XML files first for layout, and after that we're going to make fragment 1 and fragment 2, and after that we're going to learn how to use them in our program, okay? So I'm going to write layout for the first fragment, okay? And we called it frag1.xml, okay? See how it looks like.
Bless you.
Whatever it is, you know the header of the XML file. We have linear layout. And whatever it is, we have Android layout width and layout height. Let's say match parent. Also match parent. And we have Android orientation. Vertical. Okay, now, in one of the examples which I'm going to write for you, I want to put two fragments side by side on your screen, right? So, since there is no physical boundary between the fragments, you do not know which one is the fragment 1, which one is the fragment 2, okay? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change the background of one of the fragments to something else. Let's say one of the fragments, I'm going to make a background of it as blue. So you could see that this is blue, this is white, right? So you could now see these are two different fragments. Otherwise, by one glance, you do not know which one is fragment, which one is not. Even you do not feel they are fragments, okay? Because everything looks normal, okay? So in order to show you this, I'm gonna change it, make a background for you, and put Android colon background. Put and that is blue, right? Okay, so background is blue. Now at least you could see what's going on. And let's close this guy here. And now we're gonna go for list view because fragment 1 has a list view which has bunch of fruits, right? Look, so let's make a list view for you. Put ID for that. Android colon ID. let's say fruit list. ID is fruit list, okay? And let's take care of the width and height of our list view. And drawing the yellow. Match parent. Pay attention to width and height that I'm using, and Android height. Layout height equal match parent. And finally, one more line. And that is Android colon draw a selector on type, selector on top, make it false. Looks ugly if you make it true. And close this guy, close here. Out. Okay. This is pretty simple. It's self-explanatory, right? And is anybody here would not understand what is R? Everybody knows that? Okay. So it's a good review for whatever we have learned in 211D, right? If some of you forget about that, let me know. I'm gonna explain to you. And now we are going to have second XML file for fragment 2. This is called frag1.xml. Now we're going to make frag2.xml, okay? Frag1, as I mentioned, is taking care of what? List view, okay? And we're going to write a separate activity for that. That is what? That is taking care of, you're going to have an array and put data into the array, fruits, and put it into our list view, okay? In the second program, all we need to do is just display the actually text view, right? So we're going to create text view and display. So now our XML file should take care of text view, okay? Oh. Did I tell you last night that last semester, a couple of students complained about the fact that I'm writing everything on a board? Say, boss, you're writing everything on a board and this not good. I think it's a good idea. I'd write on a board, explain what's going on, you see what's going on, take a picture, whatever. So, let's write the frag2.xml. Question mark XML again, the same. Stop the header, okay? And also the linear layout. Okay? Just to save ink and time, I'm going to put this part, okay?
I guess.
exactly, I'm gonna copy it here, okay? Is it okay, you understand what I'm doing?
Got it.
So it means those three lines, layout, width, and height, and
I didn't
orientation
need to take the
are
background.
exactly the same, right?
Can
So I
you-
put them here, okay? So you're gonna copy them here. And the rest of them is about text view. This is about list view. Now I'm gonna have text view. So let's make a text view here.
You were gonna change the color to something, or you just like.
We don't have a color.
Oh,
This-
yeah, blue-
this color
blue.
belongs to,
Okay.
the other one is this
Whatever you
standard
want.
background. The other
Okay,
one is
perfect.
white or gray, depending on your version.
Perfect. With this.
Text view. If you want to change that color to something that put red or something that shows two
I can't
different.
wait.
Really, but yeah, it's really good. Text view. So any text view has a ID, so Android. Colon ID equal at plus ID, and I call it selected. Opt, it is selected option, and it has a width and height. And height. This one is going to be wrap content. You know why?
There's so many choices.
Okay, that's it. And now I'm going to have a text for that. Android colon text equals please select a fruit. Just close this guy and close the linear layout. And that's it, okay? As simple as this. This is just text, right? Now, we need to have two Java programs, okay? We need to have two Java programs. One is called fragment, we call it frag1 activity.java, the other one frag2 activity.java, okay? The two Java programs, one is taking care of this, the other one is taking care of that, okay? So far, so good, guys? Okay, continue. Okay. Package. In our discussions here in this course, always I use a package name as com.cs311D, okay? If you remember last semester, I was calling it 211D, com.211D. Topic. Class flag 1 activity extends what? Fragments. We are talking about fragments, not activity. And you need to, as you told you before, fragments by themselves do not work. They need activity.
Right.
So we're gonna put them under the umbrella of activity level later, right? So now we are designing our fragments. Okay? Fragments by themselves do not do anything. You have to put them under activity to bring them to life. Okay? As I'm going to show you how to do that. So extend, look how to do here. S should be like that. Okay? Now, you could extend fragment class, the fragment class, or there are some other classes that you might extend if you want. You could extend dialog fragment. There's a class called dialog fragment. You could do that. Let me write it down for you. Okay. You could also extend list fragment. And also you could use preference fragment. The difference between these classes is the way that those callbacks are implemented, okay? For example, in this guy, a couple of callbacks are implemented, but in the other one, some others are implemented, right? When we are using fragments like that, all of the implementation for those callbacks are empty implementation. So you need to really do your own job, right? Okay? If I started from making the easiest one, and after that, maybe if you have time, we're going to use a couple of these, okay? Continue. Okay. This is very similar to activity, but that is fragment. In a minimum, it means if you do not want to implement, override any of those callbacks, one of them should be overridden, and that is on create view. Because on create view is the callback that when you bring your fragment to life, this will be called. Okay? Exactly the same as on create, that when you are bringing your activity to life, on create will be called. Okay? So make sure that you always override this callback, this method. Okay? Public. View, on create view. It has 3 arguments. The first one is layout inflator. Layout inflator, which is li, comma. The second one is view group. View group, and we call it VG. And the third one is bundle. B. Bundle is used if you want to transfer data between one fragment to another fragment. You remember we discussed about transferring data between activities using bundle in the introductory course? the same, okay? This is for passing data back and forth between different fragments. We're going to talk about them a little later in this course, okay? Okay, now, one of the big difference between activity and fragment is activity comes with own context. It means you don't need to create context, right? But fragment doesn't have any context. You need to create your context, okay? Activity is subclassing the context class internally. That's what we don't have to worry about it. Fragment doesn't. So whenever you're working with a fragment, make sure that you create context, okay? Okay? Okay. Of course, if you need to use it, if you don't need to use context, so don't create it. I need to use it, I'm going to create a context. Context. C equal. Get activity dot get application context. Get application context is one of the methods of the activity class. That's what I need to create the object of the activity, for calling get activity, right? Okay? And after that, call get application context. Okay, so the context is created, okay? Once the context is created, we need to take care of the view. VW equal li dot inflate or dot layout dot frag1, we call it, or XML file was called frag1.xml, comma, vg, comma, false. One of the things that activity does, but fragment doesn't, activity automatically inflates the XML stuff. Automatically does it. This is part of the job of the activity. Fragment doesn't. So in fragment, we should do it ourselves. That's what I'm doing here. If you remember, activity comes with VU. Fragment doesn't come with VU. Doesn't have a VU, okay? Activity has context, activity has VU. So in activity, very easily, you could do whatever you want. Saying hello world is just very simple. But in fragment, you need to create your own context. You need to inflate your XML. That's what I'm doing, always, okay? Now, false, this one, you know what it is. This is the address of your XML file. But this guy, I need to explain to you. When you are creating your, when you are creating a VU for your fragment, you have two choices. That VU should be independent of any attachment to the parent, or could have attachment to the parent. If you are putting false here, that simply means this fragment is an individual fragment without any kind of attachment to the parent. Parent is what? The parent V, okay? So, in most of our examples here, we are using false. It means the fragment that we want to create should not have any attachment, okay, to the parent view, okay? Parent. So we have inflated our XML file. We have created our context. We have done pretty much most of the job. So let's go for a couple of more steps, and that's it. Okay. Now, this activity, fragment one is taking care of fruits. So we have to have an array to put fruits in it, and after that, do the stuff. Okay. So, final.
You can put the array in XML too, right?
Pardon?
You can put the array in XML too.
Oh yeah, different. The reason that I didn't put in XML because I wanted to have XML be as small as possible, but maybe I should have put it there.
Yeah.
My mistake.
You
Yeah.
can just say it's an XML and just use it if you want.
Yeah.
That's okay with us. We don't have to put it in XML.
Fruits. I'm going to make a bunch of fruits here. Okay. Apple, comma, mango, comma, orange, comma, finally, let's say grapes, and banana. That's good enough. Banana has one end. Banana, good enough. Okay. Fair enough? Okay. Guys, whenever you get tired, let me know. I don't want to make you exhausted, okay? You know, this is night class. During the day, everybody's working. At night, some of the eyes are getting very heavy, and all of a sudden, go to slumber. And, you know, you're going to miss some part of the lecture, okay? So, whenever you need some, we about 8:30 we go after, okay? So, don't look at it. Look at it. 8:30 we are after. Okay? So make a list view, okay? List view LB equal list view VW dot find VU by ID, VU by ID parenthesis, and we're going to put the address that we have. I think we could call it fruit list, right? Yeah, right over there. Fruit list. Okay. R dot ID dot fruit underscore list. Okay. We created the list view. Now this list view should be attached to array adapter. Without that, we cannot really put this array into list view. So we need to use adapter, okay? And reviewing or stuff from the past, if some of you guys have forgotten, it's a good chance to get, you know, repeat some of the stuff, okay? I'm not gonna go always as slow as tonight, guys. But this is the beginning of the semester. I want to review some of the stuff, so I'm going a little bit slowly. You know, bear with me. You don't really get tired. Okay, so now let's go for creating array adapter. array adapter for string. We call it AR equal new array adapter. This is not necessary, by the way. You could just put left bracket, right bracket. But I just always put it for more portability. And now we are going to have C. I'm going to tell you what it is. Android dot R dot layout dot simple list underscore item underscore 1 comma fruits. I hope you remember what it is. Simple list item 1. Do you remember what we discussed about it in 211D? Do you remember that? Yes, no? Anyway, if you have forgotten or something, let me know. I can explain it to you guys. I don't know if you remember or not. Okay. After this, we're gonna have. Okay. Let's see if I notice it here. LB dot set adapter. AR. Okay. And now. By now, we have populated our list view with whatever is in the array, okay? Bunch of items. Now we need to take care of something. First of all, we need to take care of the action that is created, event. You click on the items in list view. If I don't put anything, if I close my fragment here, it shows the list view, but when you click, nothing happens, right? So when you click, I have to do something, right? Now I'm going to put action behind clicking, right? I'm going to write the anonymous inner class, okay? See, pause now. Guys, let's go for a short break. You guys are tired. It's just really wasting time. Let's go for a short break, get energy, come back, and because I need to write a lot of code for you.